Sangye, Shodan Zoge, Jonala, Chanju Bardu, Dani, Gabsoche, Doge, Choshin, Yewe, Sonagi, Rola Vandru, Sange, Drubar, Sho, Sashi, Bogi, Joshi, Medo, Tam, Riraling, Gini, Gambadi, Sange, Shingu, Mite, Buwargi, Drogan, Namet, Sho, War, Sho, Yidam, Guru, Radhamandala, come near Tayami. So again, remember your motivation. Am I doing this for more than just myself? I'm doing it for the benefit of all sentient beings. And because this is a tantric class, of course, identify with the tantric deity that you particularly enjoy to practice. That's important. That actually makes the whole of the attendance with the teachings more powerful, more personal. You know, by identifying with the deity, as was explained in the very first class where you talk about your self-identification. Often in our own self-identification, we have, particular things like maybe I, didn't do very well in school, and maybe I'm short and fat or whatever, or ugly or getting old or whatever it might be. All of those sort of reflections on your sense of self are not that beneficial. Whereas if you say, and remember that we're not independently self-existent, we are fully capable of, transforming ourselves into anything. And that's one of the key facets of Buddhist Tantra, is the fact that you are not inherently self-existent. So therefore, you can start, you could say, injecting into yourself, bodhicitta, may all sentient beings have happiness and the cause of happiness, and then may I strive to become more enlightened to work for the benefit of all sentient beings. By having those sorts of thoughts, you're changing who you are. And there's not one part of you that's inherently existent. I mean, some parts of you might be a bit stubborn, but it doesn't mean that they can't be affected and changed. And if you think about bodhicitta, it's actually incredibly powerful. And I'm talking about it in very realistic terms. Because, let's say I want to, lose weight. Okay, everyone seems to be concerned about their diet. So, I could say, okay, I'm going to try to lose weight. Yes, John, but try hard, try hard. Okay, but let's say, I've got diabetes and I've got a heart problem. And so therefore, losing weight would be really a good thing to do for my health and well-being. So if I thought of my family, my wife or my children or my husband and my children, grandchildren and such, you have actually a lot more force to be able to have your diet and be successful in your diet, because you're doing it for more than yourself. So, and that actually, the base of that is your love. I mean, that's what makes it powerful. I mean, if you love somebody, you're willing to do incredible things. Okay, so in that way, it's very important to work with our emotions and feelings that are very positive, constructive, and can really help us move forward. So in this case, then think of some people that you'd really like to offer a more enlightened relationship to. And with that thought, then you're attending the class. And it's that same thing, then that's why I'm turning myself into a tantric deity, because it's a much better self-identification than my sort of mundane sense of self, which thinks I'm, what is it, short, fat, and ugly, or tall and fat and ugly, or whatever. I don't, forgive me for any sort of generalizations. But the point is that it's better to identify with that. Now, what you can do is you can say, well, okay, I am, the Buddha Manjushri, or I am Vajrayogini, or I'm Haruka, whatever deity you happen to have picked. But then you can say, well, due to the kindness of myself, I'm going to turn into my normal self. So I'm going to turn into Robert, I'm going to turn into John, I'm going to turn into Irene. So you could then sort of say, I've reanimated myself in the form of, in my mundane form, but inside I know I'm a deity. So it's just ways to make it work for yourself. Again, I mean, the whole point of these particular presentation is just I'm sharing things. I just celebrated 50 years of being, a Buddhist, and then actually in another little while I was ordained 50 years ago in July, and then I got my first tantric initiations in the following year. So I've been around for a long time, and it doesn't mean I'm enlightened. I'm sorry. It's, the more you practice, the more you understand you're not enlightened, which is very enlightening, and it's actually really, really good, because then you're sincere. So in regards to the practice of, for example, self-identification, then do allow yourself to say, okay, I identify with being the Buddha, and maybe for the benefit of the people in my life, I turn back, I reanimate myself in my mundane form, but underneath that, you always know there's the current that you are, arising from your Dharmakaya. Okay, so you have those thoughts in your mind. Now, the one part of this, of course, again, in being practical, is we say that all environments are pure and all sentient beings are deities, so they're all the same deity as you. Now, you need to again have a really good way of looking at that, or sort of practicing that, in the sense of making it real for yourself. So, let's say if you were on a basketball team. If you were on a basketball team, then of course what would be is that you're all working together towards making the goals. And so you don't see another person, let's say in the defense or a forward or the center or something, as being an enemy. No, they're your teamwork together to score the goals. So when you look at yourself and all sentient beings as being in the Pure Land, that's like the court, the basketball court. And then all sentient beings, we're all in the same team. You could say what's on the opposite team is delusions, and you don't want them to win. So what you have to say is our side is going to work together with teamwork. So when you think about yourself as being a deity and everybody else being a deity, you think of we're all on the same team. What is the mark of that team? Well, it's we all have Buddha nature. We all have Buddha nature, and we all would like to be happy. Some of us are not very skillful, so maybe someone on the basketball team on our side of the court, our team, is not so good at dribbling or not so good at whatever. So it doesn't matter, we're going to work together and help that other person move forward. So what you are identifying with is their Buddha nature, which you could say is their pure nature. You are all working together. It's teamwork. And in that way, then you have this more holistic way of looking at things. And so I don't, again, you have to remember that a lot of the examples given in traditional Tibetan Buddhism, or other types of Buddhism too, are very much based on their culture. So I don't think in Tibet there were basketball courts. Maybe they are now, but there wasn't then, let alone a hockey court or baseball field. Come on, none of those things. But we have that in our culture. And so when I say these things, you understand them, you get the message. So like that, I and all sentient beings were on the same team. What we're scoring goals for is to all become more enlightened. You could say the opposing team is the delusions. But the thing is, actually, you want to bring them into enlightenment too. So so again, I'm just reviewing a few things just to sort of start us off. Graduated path to enlightenment. One way you could say, okay, yes, I have to realize this is my perfect human rebirth, and it has the 8 freedoms and the 10 endowments. And then I have to think about that everything is impermanent, and that death is definite, the time of death is indefinite, there are many causes for death. There are many causes for death, and then what helps the time of death? And then it's called the next step would be what conclusions can be drawn. Okay, those are all the details. And then you say take refuge. You take refuge from not wanting to take a bad rebirth, and then you also have faith and inspiration in the Buddha, etc. And then you start following karma, and then you start working on your delusions, and then you try to do it not just for yourself, but for the benefit of everyone. I mean, that's the graduated path to enlightenment. But you should actually look at that as your bodhicitta, because you're doing it on yourself. Let's say if you start to think, okay, I have a precious human rebirth. I have an incredible opportunity to be doing things with myself, which is mainly I'm working towards being more enlightened, not just being a mundane person, not taking advantage of my rebirth. So when you do that, but then if you think about it, this is for the benefit of all, it means you look at everybody else as they have incredible potential. Now, some people are going to be difficult. They're not going to be overly inspired. So it doesn't mean that, like, you say, you get inspired, but you have to say, well, hey, wow, you live in El Paso. El Paso is a great place to be, and you could do this and that with yourself. So you slowly motivate them towards being more inspired about their life. Why? Because you're inspired about your life, and you want to share that. There's bodhicitta with the precious human rebirth. And that as much for myself as I want personal inspiration, I want other people to have personal inspiration, and according to the situation, according to who they are, what's most appropriate. For example, when you take an Anutara yoga initiation, and you all have, so whether it's Yamantaka, Kala Chakra, or Vajrayogini, whatever, you are at one point, you're given permission to give teachings. And so you're given them in accordance with the 5 Buddha families. So you give it with Vairochana, which is to deal with ignorance, with Ratnasambhava to deal with miserliness and arrogance, with Amitabha to deal with attachment, with Amoghasiddhi to deal with jealousy, and with Ashkobhya to deal with anger. Now, what it says is that you have permission, because you've received the Anutara Yoga initiation, to teach people according to their temperament, being, let's say, not understanding things, being arrogant, being very attached, or having jealousy, or whatever else. Now, that then also means that you teach with intelligence, with skillful means. So as much as you skillfully work on yourself, you try to work for the benefit of others too, and skillfully. Like for example, let's say if you've been a bad boy or girl, then you could say, oh, beat myself. Yes, I shouldn't be such a bad person. I should try to be better. Yes, yes. So it's like the example you could think of is it's like if you're going to wash your hands. Okay, your hands are dirty. So what you could do is you could sit there and you could take some, chloro, and you could take an iron, thing for scrubbing pots, and you could scrub your hand and say, yes, I'm going to make it clean. Well, that's going to hurt a lot, and it's going to damage your hand. But then you say, well, that's the way I did it. So what you're going to do when you get another person in front of you is you're going to say, oh, yeah, well, I'm going to take my chloro and my rubber brush or my bristle brush, and I'm going to scrub you. Well, that person's going to run away from you. There's no skillful means. You weren't skillful with yourself, and you're not being skillful with others. So therefore, it's really important that we work skillfully with ourselves. You can say work compassionately with yourself. And by doing that, then, you will automatically be compassionate with other people. So, we should always look that we're trying to be a more enlightened individual, try to move forward in our life. And so that's with ourselves and then with other people, so working compassionately. So the graduated path, every step of it is one way, your bodhicitta. What it means is, the way that you skillfully worked with yourself in the graduated path, you will work with other people skillfully in presenting or helping them understand the graduated path. Now, whether you say specifically this is the graduated path, or whether you just say this is common sense, to be a nice person is common sense. I mean, we are interdependent. Our success depends on our interdependence with other people. I mean, the success of our family relationships depends on appreciation and goodwill and intelligence and such. Our job we have or our pension we have, it's interdependent with others. Whether it's the government or the job we had. Our education is interdependent with the teachers we had. I mean, we are an interdependent entity. So therefore, having appreciation of others. Okay, so your graduated path is actually your bodhicitta. Work skillfully with yourself, and you will work skillfully with other people. And, if you can actually memorize some of the stages of the graduated path to enlightenment, that would be really good. When I was very young in Dharamsala in India with Geshe Darge, who was one of my very first teachers, Sherpa Tulku, who was the translator, he gave me the Tibetan outline of the graduated path to enlightenment. He said, memorize this. So I did, to some extent. But I can say, wow, that was such an incredible beneficial bit of information, because in the graduated path to enlightenment are all the techniques you need to work with yourself and, of course, with a good heart to work with the benefit of others. And it's not Bible thumping and proselytizing and evangelizing. It's not that at all. It's working with yourself intelligently. And I mean, it was so nice. I'm sure many of you attended the Dalai Lama's initiation of Avalokiteshvara 2 nights ago. That was on, I think, Friday night and Saturday night. It was incredibly beautiful. Maybe Thursday night, Friday night, I can't remember. Anyway, point is that, the Dalai Lama has said, my goal is secular ethics, common sense to be kind to other people. So it's not, he doesn't want to make people Buddhist, he wants to make people think. And then there you can say, well, there's the heart of bodhicitta, not proselytizing some particular religion, but saying common sense and such. Now, if someone says, wow, that was really good, maybe they might look at Buddhism, but it's not necessary. If they looked at their own religion, that would be fine too. Anyway, so I wanted to start the class by saying, very important, your graduated path. Okay, now, we moved into the Anutara Yoga. This is the 4 levels of Tantra. We're into the final level. And what was very special about it is is called in harmony. It's in harmony with death, bardo, rebirth, dharmakaya, sambhogakaya, nirmanakaya. Those are not different entities. Although, our death, bardo, rebirth is definitely under the power of delusions. With a bit of meditation, a bit of clarity, and a bit of good motivation, we can have dharmakaya, sambhogakaya, nirmanakaya. So that it's really important to recognize that, to understand, the Anutara yoga is one of the really supreme yogas in that there's complete harmony between mundane life and then what you're doing with yourself in your spiritual practice. Not to say that there isn't harmony between the other ones, but it's not as deep. Anutara yoga has the depth of transforming death, bardo, rebirth, and it's done in a very real way. Always remember, you come back to that you are empty of any inherent self-existence. You are an interdependent phenomena. There's not one cell, one atom, one molecule within you which is not interdependent with the universe around you. Okay? And again, I talked earlier about, for example, we're all on the same team and we're all working towards enlightenment. So that's the Pure Land, and all sentient beings are the deity, and I am the deity, and we're all working together towards, making the goals of enlightenment, becoming more enlightened society and such. Another way to do that, which is with your wisdom, and it's not so much focused on that you personally are independently self-existent, or what's called analysis of your sense of self. It's called the analysis of phenomena. And in the analysis of phenomena, you appreciate everything is a play of interdependence. Nothing has independent self-existence. Okay. Now, you remember your body is a phenomena. If you looked at the 5 aggregates, your body is considered in the first aggregate of phenomena. The other 4 are in the aggregate of sense of personal self, or sense of self. Okay. So they're mental. The first one, your body is considered part of phenomena. So if you do an analysis on your sense of self physically, your body, you are swimming in an ocean of atmosphere. Try to always remember that. And that atmosphere isn't independent and you are independent. No, because if we pulled you out of the atmosphere, you'd fall dead in seconds. So what you have to remember is, no, I am completely interdependent. I am immersed like a fish in a swimming pool, or myself in a swimming pool. And I am completely penetrated by that air down to the cellular level, and what keeps me alive. In fact, that I can talk and you can hear me because the air is coming out and coming through my larynx, and it's making noises, and it's turned into English language or something, whatever. So the point is that my whole existence is an existence of interdependence. Okay, now when you have that, then you say, into this interdependent universe, which is empty of any self-existence, may I be of benefit. May I be bodhicitta. May I benefit the world. May I be like a perfume that makes the world smell nicer. So there's a similar example to that all beings are the deity, and we're all in the playground or the Pure Land of the deity. Okay, but this is working off of a wisdom consciousness, and that wisdom consciousness is recognizing that we are all interdependent, and so therefore, on a relative level, my interdependence working for the benefit of all sentient beings, is like a perfume that makes the world a better place. And again, I am a tantric deity, so I am Manjushri Anutara, or I am Haruka Vajravini, or I am whatever, Kala Chakra, whatever deity I care to practice. Okay, so there's Anutara Yoga and Death, Bardo, Rebirth. Now, the most important thing really, there's 2 facets. One is your meditation ability, and the second one is clear light. Okay, now, why that? Well, if you can have a reasonably good meditation capacity, when you die, you're going to go back to the clear light, and you might be able to maintain some levels of awareness to get back to that clear light experience. So that's why you have the 8 visions at the time of death. You try to exercise those every day or several times every day. It just depends on how much time you have free to do that. Okay, so you go through the 8 disillusions and you arrive at clear light. You really have to understand what it means is you're letting your mind get more and more subtle. You're dropping off the 5 senses. You're going to consciousness itself. You're having those internal experiences like sparks, like light at the end of the tunnel, and then the white vision, the red vision, the black vision, and then finally clear light. Okay, but what you really want to work at is to try to get more and more familiar with clear light. So What is clear light? Well, between your nose or your eyeballs and the screen of the computer you're looking at, that's clear light. The space between those two. That's what your consciousness has to be. It has to be that open, empty of form, clear light. Now that's very subtle. It's like a very fine level of consciousness. So again, think of it in those terms. Now, clear light, you have clear light presentation in the sutra teachings. It's not different. It's, it's called the space-like meditation. That's in the standard, perfection of wisdom section. And then you see all phenomena as illusions after that, which is to try to make yourself not over-validate phenomena around you. It's all a play of causes and circumstances and interdependence, et cetera, okay? So that's sutra. That's perfectly sutra. But in Anutara Yoga, you get another little quality, which you don't even get in the previous three tantras. The previous three tantras work off of the understanding of voidness. And you go back to the void, which is open like the space of the sky. And then you basically animate yourself as a seed syllable, for example, green tongue for Tara, and then you manifest as Tara. Okay, so that's the three lower tantras. They're fine and they're beautiful, and they're all based on proper Buddhist wisdom. Anutara Yoga, a little bit more profound. So Geshe Darge gave an example for me about Anutara Yoga, and although it's, it's an example, I didn't really like it, but I'll share it with you. He says, if you want to, kill let's say a cow for its meat, well, you can beat it all over the body, and you might finally kill it, which is not a very good way to do it, but it's going to do it. But if you cut its throat, it dies immediately. Okay, now that's a really ugly example. I think there's a better example for us. Okay, acupuncture. If you're feeling sick, I can give you a massage. Oh yes, that feels so nice. Thank you so much. But if I know acupuncture, I know if I go to this little spot between my thumb and my palm of my hand and I rub it, touching that point is a direct line to, I guess, relieving a particular illness that I had, whatever, okay? So it's much more profound than just a general massage. That's exactly what Anutara Yoga Tantra is. Regular Dharma practice is a massage. It's a massage to your mind. The first three levels of Tantra is also a massage, and it's very beneficial. It helps you a lot. But when you move to Anutara Yoga, it's like going to acupuncture. You're hitting the exact spot that's going to stimulate a nerve, it's going to stimulate an organ, and it's going to cause a healing process to happen. So that's why Anutara Yoga is more special. It's like hitting an acupuncture point that directly stimulates what's necessary. Or Geshe Darge said, it's like what kills the cow really fast, okay? And I think you can understand that. I think the other example is a little better. Okay. Anyway, so clear light. So there is the, and please try to do that meditation of being like, I give the example, you're at 30,000 feet in a jet, and the jet in your body keeps going and your mind stays at 30,000 feet, clear light, okay? Now, I use that example because I found it difficult if I'm sitting here in the room and I'm on the ground, that it's hard for me to go and eliminate sort of the sense that I'm still sitting in a room. So I really wanted to get a space where there was no more forms appearing, or no even a slight possibility of a form arising. Sorry, so I'll let some people in here. So I was just saying that if to try to gain access to the clear light consciousness, okay, so you're in a jet, it's at 30,000 feet, and what you try to do is just to let the jet and your body keep going, and you are the clear light consciousness. And in that place, being at 30,000 feet, you don't have too much worry about there's earth underneath you or there's your body still there. You have a little bit more freedom to let your mind just be clear light consciousness. Now, in that, try to make your mind very, very subtle, very smooth. Like I am that clear light. I am at 30,000 feet, and I'm not falling like I'm a skydiver. No, I'm floating or I'm there, okay? And then try to make it that I'm very subtle, like I'm like the atoms of the oxygen and the nitrogen that make up the atmosphere, okay? But then even those are not inherently self-existent. They're open. So then I have openness, like open like the space of the sky. Okay, now that's an intellectual exercise, but it has some imagery involved in it and stuff. I mean, you let yourself imagine yourself. If you remember in the class I gave, some time ago, I said, like, when you close your eyes and you're going to meditate on Mahamudra or Dzogchen or something, you get darkness. You think, Jompa, I just see dark. I don't see any clear light. What are you talking about? Well, it's because you over-identify with your I consciousness. What you need to do is understand it's your mind, it's your imagination. So if I was to, for example, suggest, imagine, something beautiful, like, for example, let's say if you attended the initiation of the Dalai Lama 2 nights ago, maybe you can imagine seeing his face, and he's so personal in the temple and the beautiful statue of Buddha Shakyamuni when he was in his 6 years of asceticism or something like that. Maybe those images arise really clearly. That's your mind. That's not your I consciousness. That's your mind that's generating that image. So when you meditate on the clear light, you have to let your mind do it. And so you need to imagine. So again, I'll come back to the example. Imagine you're at 30,000 feet in a jet. The jet in your body keeps going, and you are in that open space of the sky. Okay, so that's the first thing you have light now. You don't have darkness like when you closed your eyes because you didn't over-identify with your I consciousness. You're exercising your mind. You're in the yoga studio of mind. Okay? So now you have clear light to some extent. The next step you want to do is to make it more non-dual. I am the clear light. So if you think of like subject and object, okay, like I'm looking at my computer screen. There's subject and there's object. What you try to do is shorten the distance between those two. So you have, I'm at 30,000 feet and I'm looking at the space of the sky. That's dualistic. So you say, no, I am the sky. You try to come back and back and become more one with, I am without form, without any inherent existence. I am open, empty of self-existence. My consciousness is the clear light. So you try to rest in that. Now, that still is basically sutra practice. Okay, there's nothing specifically uniquely tantric about that. But when you move to Tantra, and especially the Anutara Yoga Tantra, because remember I made the example, it's like acupuncture. I mean, when you're sick and someone gives you a massage, it's nice. But if someone does an acupuncture point, they might heal you a lot quicker. Okay, your acupuncture points on your tantric practice is your chakras, your nervous system. Okay, and although somehow it's sometimes identified with being, some sort of psychic channels or something like that, it's your nervous system. Come on, be realistic, And so you could say it's in your spine, but we visualize it a little bit in front of the spine. Really doesn't matter because the point is you're trying to find it. So, in regards to clear light, what you want to do to get a little bit more profound level, so instead of just a general massage of your mind, you want to do acupuncture. So the first thing you do with that is you could do, again, it requires a little bit more teaching. Maybe next class I could do it with a bit more detail, but it's tummo, psychic heat. You do that in the abdomen, so a little bit below the navel, back inside the body, just in front of the spine. You try to find a feeling. Now, if you over-identify with some sort of imagery, you might be missing the whole point, okay? I had a Tibetan Lama that lived behind me. His name was Tenzin. I can't remember his last name, but it was Tenzin. Anyway, and he actually had attained psychic heat. He really had it. How do we know this? Because they took him to Harvard University, to the Harvard Medical School, and they tested him. And he could get up to 120 or 102 degrees on the outside of his body. But what was interesting is the core of his body stayed at 98.6 or whatever it is, okay? So he actually was enveloped in a sort of an aura, a feeling of 102, although the core temperature didn't go up. That was straight out of Harvard Medical School and their research, and I'm sure there's other research that's gone on since then with people that actually have tummo psychic heat, So the point anyway, I'm just saying is that he shared with me. I mean, he lived beside me for 2 years, and we used to sometimes talk a little bit. And he shared with me that he didn't do a lot of breathing exercises. He found he didn't really need it. And in some of the commentaries by Tsongkhapa, there's that. So you may have heard that, for example, you try to hold your breath in the navel, you pull up on the pelvic floor, and then he says you touch your left knee, you touch your right knee, you touch your forehead, snap your finger, that's 1. You try to do that for 30. So that's like 45 seconds or something like that. Okay, well, he said you don't need to do that. You basically need to try to relax. And yes, you need to control your breathing a little bit. There's lots of exercises in Anutara Yoga, like Vajra breathing, which are very beneficial. But what you want to do is to allow your mind to drop down to your abdomen, to a little below your navel, deeper inside your body, in front of the spine. Okay. Now it's not hard. You can pull up on your pelvic floor. So between your anus and your genitals, you pull up a little bit on that part of your body, and you can feel maybe a little bit of a sensation. Okay. But then move your awareness, your mindfulness, up to that area a little bit below and behind your navel. Now, what you're looking for is a sensation, a unique sensation, something that's sort of like, oh, hey, there's something there. That's your central channel. That's the middle of the central channel of the navel chakra. Okay? So, although there's these very elaborate visualizations you do, and Lama Yeshe said this to me, he said, work with your feelings, the sensations that go on in your body. So, you've gone down to your navel as best as you can. You maybe swallow a little saliva and feel your mind drops down inside. You come down to the navel, and in your navel, then you try to sort of find that place. Then you pull up a little bit on the pelvic floor without losing that place. And you push down a little bit with the diaphragm. Try not to lose that place. Or maybe you just scan around in that area. Again, if you did one of those 10-day retreats with me, in the past, you did a lot of scanning. Well, you should be a little bit more sensitive. I mean, the scanning is running your consciousness through the network of your nervous system, and you're removing three problems: that it's blocked, that it's crooked, or it's dry. Well, if you think about, why is it called dry? Well, it's because if the nerve channels aren't moist, they don't transmit the message that they give. Like moving my hand is actually, an electromagnetic, or I would say, it's an electric pulse that comes from the fluid in the cells, transmitting it to the muscles. So it is a fluid thing. So again, when you do Tummo meditation, you want to release the three things: being blocked, the nerves no longer not open functioning. You want to stop it from being crooked so that the energy can't flow through it, and you want to make it moist. Okay, so that means just dwell in your stomach and try to really allow yourself to feel what's going on there, and to try to sort of find that sensation, which is, oh, there's like a point there, which is sort of a little bit more like energetic. Oh, that's it. It's in my abdomen area. Okay, so you find that. Now, when you found that, then there's the exercises of Tummo. You feel it that it's warm and it's a warm fuzzy. The monk Tenzing told me that when he had his experience, he was like going down inside his body and he saw a bowl of roses, like with roses all lining the bowl. That was his visual experience of getting into psychic heat. And he says he went down inside of it, and it was so nice. He says it was such a nice feeling of warmth and a warm fuzzy. Okay, and that was the start of his psychic heat. Okay, his Tummo, his meditation. Okay, now the point is, anyway, so again, I'm not going to go into all the details of psychic heat. It's good you have a teacher and they privately teach you, or that you have someone you can resource with. It's no different than, for example, if you've got a big psychological problem, you have a psychologist you go to and they help you work it through. That's what a tantric guru is. Someone that has the experience and then can help you work with your own sensations and things. Because, for example, when you do work with your nervous system and your chakras, you can have very strong energy. It normally just turns into a big sexual energy, and then that makes a lot of problems for you. But the thing is, that's what you've woken up your nervous system. What you want to do is you want to get more in control of yourself and your feelings and your energy. So anyway, you get the warm fuzzy in your stomach. Then, if you're doing Tummo, you feel that a little line of that warm fuzzy comes up to your heart, to your throat, and comes up inside and it touches the crown of your head. Or if you think of it, you put pituitary gland, and then it melts the nectar, and the nectar flows down, and you get blissful feelings. Okay, so that's the way that it's described in the tantric text. So if you think about it realistically, you've stimulated your pituitary gland. It's stimulating all the endorphins and such. It means your nervous system starts to tingle. You feel really, really good, and then you have the four arising blisses, the four descending blisses, etc. All of that's opening up your nervous system, your chakras, making you very energized and such. Okay, so that's Tummo. But what we're looking at is trying to get a better experience of clear light. So with the better experience of clear light, try to get a little bit of a warm fuzzy in your stomach. Then move it up in a direct line, coming up in front of your spine, up to somewhere about like if you took your two nipples and you went to the center of your body and inside your body, somewhere there's your heart chakra. Okay, so it's the nerve center for like well, that your heart chakra. Okay, it's in the center of the body. It's not your physical heart. Okay, so you get there. Now, Geshe Rapton told me that again, you're trying to look for a feeling, and when you get the feeling, there's a sense of just being more centered. It's not like that you're inside this little tube that's what is it, blue on the outside and red on the inside, and you're inside of it, and you're saying, "Oh wow, I'm inside this tube." That must be my central channel. That's all just intellectual. What you want is that you have this feeling of like, "Oh, I've got a nice feeling in my heart right now. Oh, that's a really nice feeling." So feel that you try to go inside of that feeling in your heart, like a nice feeling, like you're in love or something like that. It's sort of like that. There's a nice feeling. So you're inside of it. Now, Geshe Rapton said, when you're getting close, you'll feel a sensation of spaciousness and peace. So again, don't get all caught up in, I've got a tube running down my body and this and that. I mean, Lama Thupten Yeshe, I mean, I swear he must have had an unbelievable Tumo experience, an unbelievable thing, because he was so explicit with his descriptions of things. So you get down and you sort of get into your heart, you find sort of a feeling there, and if you do it correctly, there should be a sense of spaciousness and peace. Now you're in your central channel. Now at that point, try to generate that previously generated sense of being at 30,000 feet. And you are the clear light space of the sky. Now, if you have managed to open up your heart chakra a little bit, you've got a little bit more sensitivity there, you will have a more refined consciousness. That's part of what it means to get inside your central channel. That it's not a coarse consciousness. It's not like all the nerve channels in your arms and legs, which are coarser levels of consciousness. You are more subtle. You get there from doing yoga, tai chi, qigong, breathing exercises, breathing meditation, Goenka's Vipassana meditation. All of those things will give you a more subtle mind. But in this case, you move to your heart chakra. You then try to sort of get sort of inside of that. You will be generating a more refined sense of sensation. The nerve in your heart is being stimulated because you put your mindfulness there. And then it's not your eye consciousness, which is black because you've got your eyes closed. You are clear light. You're exercising your imagination more with a more refined level of consciousness. And you try to stay there. Now, that, if you really did start getting proper tumo and other things, which happens in stages, then you will actually start getting a more refined experience of clear light, which will help you immensely when you die, because you've already got this much greater sense of experience of what's going on for yourself. So these exercises are really important, especially because death is waiting for us all. Maybe for me it's in the next 5 or 10 years. Maybe for some of you, if you're lucky, it's the next 10 or 20 years. But the point is, all of us are going to die. And I mean, again, Geshe Darge said, he said, you've died millions of times and it was been completely useless. Nothing benefited you. Although you had the experience, you went back to the clear light, you were completely unconscious. There was no benefit whatsoever. So what you want to do is you want to die with a little bit of mindfulness, with a little bit of a technique. That's Anutara yoga. So you're really, really lucky that you have the teachings, you received initiations, and you're getting commentary on it, okay? So you have the central channel. You try to get the clear light consciousness inside. Now, part of that is that there is an innate bliss in that. You don't have to think of that there's a bliss that you need to create, that there will be an innate bliss. And that bliss is actually when your nervous system is turned on. Okay, now, Lama Yeshe, again, he really liked to try to give people an experience of things. So I'm going to give you a little bit of commentary about how he described it to me. Okay, so you want to turn on your nervous system. You want to energize it. Okay, So, I mean, if someone caresses your face, that's a nice energizing thing. I mean, you feel, oh yeah, that's a nice thing, thank you very much, or whatever. But the big source of your energy is your central channel, from your crown to the top of your head, down to your pelvic floor, and up into your genitals. So what you want to do, in this case, Lama Tupten Geshe gave the description. He says, for a man, you visualize your penis and you go to the end of the urethra. Okay, I'm sorry if I got the word wrong. Anyway, Patty's area. She doesn't need to say it, but anyway, she's a doctor, yeah. Okay, so that's for a man. For a woman, where do you go? You go to the top of the vagina. Okay, Lama Yeshe is very explicit. He said that the clitoris is very energetic, of course, when you're having sex. But the real place where the central channel is the top of the vagina, just before the cervix. It goes into the womb or whatever. And again, forgive me if I've not got the words right. Okay, so the way Lama Yeshe described it, he says that you feel, this is your imagination. You don't need to do anything physical. With your imagination, you feel that you're in union. And for a man, you go to the tip of the penis, at the doorway of the urethra. And for a woman, you go to the top of the vagina. And again, if you've got some sensitivity, you can find that spot for yourself. And then Lama Yeshe says you pull a little wisp of like incense smoke. So for a man, he pulls it down his urethra. And it goes down the urethra. And again, this is your imagination, but it gets quite energetic, the sensations. You come down, you hit the pelvic floor, and you bring it up to the navel. For a woman, you go from the top of the vagina, and basically you can feel you draw a little bit of the incense smoke from the top of the penis. You take it down, and however you want to do it, you go down to the pelvic floor, you come up, and then you go to the navel. And in there, then you have greater sensation. And then that sensation is quite energetic. Again, if you're not a very good practitioner, you might turn it into a sexual fantasy, which is not beneficial. You don't want to do that. What you want to do is control yourself, and you want to make the energy in your navel and your abdomen become very energetic. Now, I'll share a little funny thing that happened, okay? So I had a vasectomy when I was, well, I guess, 52 or 53 years old. And so I'm sitting there on the operation table, and of course I'm not unconscious, and my doctor was there, and he was doing a little surgery down underneath a little tent or whatever it was, Anyway, and he said, oh, did you know that some men, when I'm doing this, get a lot of sensation in their stomach? I said, really? And he says, yeah, because there's a big nerve connection between your genitals and your abdomen, your thing. And I went, wow, that's interesting, because that's what Tumo is all about. That, if you look at what Lama Yeshe says, you move from your genitals to your pelvic floor up to your abdomen. Well, supposedly, Mother Nature has made this huge connection between your genitals and your abdomen. And so again, Lama Yeshe wasn't wrong. And here we have, kind of a vasectomy operation, but the thing is again, it's like, oh, wow, interesting. Now, that isn't for an anatomy class. It's not for making yourself more sexually, I don't know, obsessed or something like that. That's not the case at all. I mean, I have a student in one city, and he's got this incredible obsession about sexuality, and it's such a pain, because I try to say it's not about that. Okay, it's the energy, yes, but it's not about having sex, and it's not about being a predator looking for somebody to have sex with. And I'm being really frank with you guys, okay? Because we're practicing Anutara Yoga Tantra, and maybe some of you are pretty serious about it. So you want to practice well. So what you want is waking up your nervous system. You don't want anything else. And it happens to be that our genitals create a lot of energy. So again, you don't want to overemphasize that in the wrong direction. What you want to do is to move it and wake up your nervous system. That is your stomach, your heart, your throat, your crown of your head. You're very energized, okay? And then you particularly move it to your abdomen area where it's most easy to open your central channel or to access it to make more conscious connection to it. And then you move that up to your heart chakra. And actually, Nagarjuna has said you can do the clear light consciousness both at the navel or at the heart. It depends a bit on your personal process and how you want to meditate, okay? So, in regards to the clear light consciousness, waking up your nervous system, especially your central channel, trying to get inside of it, even if it's just an imagination, that you are inside of that feeling inside of your heart chakra, okay? And then you try to generate that open space of the sky, like at 30,000 feet, a very refined level of consciousness. Why is it refined? Because your mind is much more sensitive on that level of your nervous system. It's not just like, I mean, I touch my cheek, I can feel the sensation. That's a coarse sensation. You want the sensation that's happening down inside of your heart chakra, that's basically your mind is able to be able to refine itself and access that thing. Now, just a few notes is that each one of us is different emotionally, and sometimes it'll take a long, long time for you to be able to practice well. Okay, I'll be really honest that I did these meditations, and for the longest time, for years, I had nothing but pain in my stomach. And it was because my abdomen wasn't properly developed. I didn't, whether I didn't do yoga or I didn't do whatever, it's just that's how I was born. Okay, so don't have big expectations. You're going to get really fast results. Each one of us is individual. Some of us might wake up, psychically a lot faster than others. And others maybe takes 10, 20, 30 years. But the point is, it's still worthwhile to do it. Okay, so I'm just sharing with you that don't think that you're going to get quick results. Maybe it takes 5 or 10 years to get a result. But if you do it regularly, you will start getting more sensitive about your nervous system and the feelings in your nervous system. And then you can find your central channel. And then you can start to get a little bit closer to being inside of it. And then, of course, I mean, if you are practicing high yoga tantra, then you draw the 5 major and the 5 minor winds inside the central channel. You will get the actual experience of the 8 visions at the time of death. And then you arrive at the actual clear light, et cetera, et cetera. All that you can get from studying lots of books on Tantra. I'm just trying to make it really practical for yourselves, okay? So, there. Now, one thing, why? Well, you want to have a more profound experience, and you want to actualize your practice of the graduated path. So, I'm going to give you an example. What is the graduated path? It's like a Christmas tree that's not plugged in, okay? Why? Well, you have precious human rebirth. That's rather brilliant. You understand what's important and not important. That's quite beautiful. You then take refuge. That's very beautiful. Like Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, they're so beautiful. You're being careful on your karma. That's good. You are working on your delusions. That's cleaning up the dead branches on the Christmas tree and making it more pretty. Then you're into bodhicitta. That's putting the tinsel and the light bulbs and all of those things and making it really beautiful, but it's not plugged in yet. But it's so beautiful. That's your graduated path. You are making yourself a very beautiful Christmas tree. When you practice Tantra, it's when you plug it in. And that's everything lights up. That's a perfect example of what it means to practice Anutara Yoga Tantra, that you end up with this luminous energy, but it's all the graduated path. It's not, I'm becoming a sexual predator looking for somebody to have sex with, and I'm not manipulating people because I want power over other people, and I want to build up a big empire and be, the king or the queen of that empire. I mean, all this garbage, that's all politics and religion. I mean, religion has lots of that. Buddha said, or actually Buddha didn't say it, but a great thing Mappa Lama said, when the Buddha taught the Dharma, the world moved forward 3 steps. When they formed the association of the Sangha, it moved backwards 2. Why? Power, politics, money, all of that stuff, okay? But we're just trying to be practitioners, and none of us are famous, and none of us are going to set up, huge Dharma empires. So we don't even worry about that. We just want to become bodhisattvas, to be really nice people, work for the benefit of all sentient beings. Okay? So, the graduated path is the Christmas tree. The electricity of the Christmas tree is the Anutara Yoga and energizing, turning on your nervous system. Practice well the graduated path, and your tantric practice will definitely go in the right direction. Okay, that's sort of the basic presentation. Now, I guess we're at 5 minutes to 5, so at least for my time zone. So I'm going to open it to questions. You can do it either by turning on your microphone, or you can type it out. I can see them both. So if you have questions, please ask them, or commentaries. I'm more than happy to try to answer you to the best of my ability. Okay, so away you go. It's in your hands. And if there's no questions, that's cool. Let's go.
Hey, Jumper, this is Tim.
Oh, hi, Tim.
Hi. To start doing this practice, I could see getting somewhat obsessed with it. Is there, like, should you start 10 minutes alley that we don't wind up in the gutter?
Yeah, well, essentially, I mean, I would say, yeah, practice 5 or 10 minutes. Try to become a little bit more aware of your nervous system. I mean, Tim, you just did a 10-day retreat and you were scanning your body. Now, wasn't it interesting, Tim? Like when you scanned your body, you hit certain parts of your body and all these emotions and feelings and things about your mother and your father all came gushing out of you. Well, it's because those thoughts are trapped in particular parts of your nervous system. Now, that's a bit of, I guess human nature and nervous system things and stuff like that. So you don't really need to worry about practicing Tantra to have some rather intensive experiences. Just getting more in touch with yourself, meditating, scanning your body, exercising your awareness, wisdom, and compassion, your dealing with delusions, all of those things. That's basic Buddhism. You don't need Tantra. All of this is when you're practicing Tantra, exercise the same wisdom that you would, in the sense that, you can pour too much gasoline on the fire and then you get a hell of a big blaze and then it's all out of control. So just know how much gas you can put on the fire to make it burn a little better. It's exactly that. Or, accelerator pedal of your car. You can pedal to the metal of the floorboard and you can go off at, at 100 miles an hour. Not so skillful because you don't know how to drive at that speed. Actually, Lama Tupten Zopa said this. He said, you want to generate bliss that's very nice and comfortable and manageable. You don't want to bring yourself to a climax. He says, if you do that, you've ruined it. Well, it's not ruined, but the thing is, it's not what you want to do as a practitioner. So all I can say is that, Tim, practice is like learning how to accelerate a little bit. You learn how to sort of accelerate, get up to 30 miles an hour, and hey, you can still take the corners pretty good. That's okay. Oh, you can go a little faster, and then finally, when you get in the central channel, it's like you're on the highway. You can go 110 miles an hour in the central channel. There's no problems because it's all in the central channel. It's when it's not in the central channel that it'll turn into desire and passion and anger and frustration and all the other things which are all caught up in your nervous system, okay? So I just say common sense and such. I would tend to say, because I know almost all of you, that you all have good common sense. I don't think you need to worry too much. Just, and if you suddenly have very intensive feelings, well, you can send me an email and I'll talk with you. I mean, let's try to help you a little bit. Okay? So, Tim, I think that answers the question. Just use common sense.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good. Now, one thing you want to remember is you want to get over all of your minor angers and frustrations and people you don't like and people that you think aren't very good or aren't doing a good job. So whether maybe it's a family member or maybe it's your ex or something like that, and you can have all of these negative feelings, and you might even classify it as, oh, I want to help them, but actually, really, I just want to harm them. You got to remember, you got to clean all that out. You want to just have pure feelings of love and compassion for the benefit of all sentient beings. Why? Because when you practice Tantra, I gave this example before, it's like you're going to get bigger and bigger Fender speakers. Okay, so we all know what a Fender speaker is. It's for when, Jimmy Page plays his guitar. Well, he has a big Fender speaker, okay? Well, if you haven't done correct purification, if you haven't really got a good heart, and you practice a lot of Tantra, you're cranking up the volume on your personal speakers. And if you don't have very, very good quality about yourself, then you're basically going to just make a lot of noise. You're not going to be a very pleasant person to be with. Think of the Dalai Lama. When he talks, it's a symphony orchestra. It's beautiful. Love and compassion, care for all sentient beings. I mean, if you think about it, the Chinese devastated his country. They've raped and pillaged and they're doing so much damage. The Dalai Lama doesn't hate them. He has compassion for them. And he would say he loves them and he has compassion for them, even though they did atrocities. So if in your personal life you have some very damaging relationship or situation, think of the Dalai Lama. He forgave the Chinese. He has love and compassion for the Chinese. So you also, it's very important you have love and compassion. You forgive the people in your life, if you don't, when you're dying, it's going to come up. That's why you do purification practice. Why we do 100,000 Vajrasattva or just do Vajrasattva mantra. is that we bring up something, like maybe there's somebody that we hate. Well, we bring them up and we learn to forgive them. And then we do Vajrasattva mantra. We do breathing meditation, like, I absorb the suffering and I give you back happiness. All of that means is when you die, you're not going to get hit with the garbage of your anger, never forgiving that person and all that sort of stuff. So it's really, really important that you basically learn how to forgive everybody in your life, whether you do it now or whether you do it next week, but you want to do it before you die, because if not, that's going to be more powerful than your ability to control your death process and your bardo. If you have unresolved karmic issues, your bardo is under the control of your delusion. If you've managed to forgive and have kindness and love for all sentient beings, then that's not going to be a problem. And when you go into the death experience, you're going to have good feelings and love for everybody. When you think about it, when you're dying, I quoted this before, and I quoted it in the retreats I do. I remember there's a little girl, 12 years old, and she was dying of cancer, and she died. But her last word to her mommy and daddy, who were suffering viciously for her, was she says, "Mom and Dad, I love you. That's the final message I want to give you. I love you." Okay? So she, for all the things that had happened, for all of the things that she was dying, she was only left with a feeling of love to her mom and dad, and she died with that. And you could say, I guess she's Christian. She would go into the hands of God, and God would take her with love, I don't know, to heaven or whatever. It really doesn't matter what your philosophy of religion is. She died with love. So let's say you haven't done that. You haven't been able to, bring to mind somebody that really hurts you, or someone that you don't like. Okay, and then you're dying, and they come to your mind. You're out of control. You're going to say, "No, I don't want to think about them," but they're there because you haven't forgiven them. You haven't worked on yourself. You haven't purified and let go of all your garbage. Okay, so really, really important, your basic practice. Because when you practice Tantra, things are going to get more powerful. And if you've not got purification practices in place, you haven't cleaned up your act a little bit, you're going to end up with problems. It's like you've got a bigger and bigger set of Fender speakers, but there's not nice music coming out of them. It's just garbage. Okay? So this is a closing thought, because it's really important to don't think that, "Oh, I'm practicing Tantra, I'm going to get power, and I'm going to get this and that, I'm going to have an experience of the clear light." Nah, I'm sorry, you practice Tantra and you haven't done enough practice, fundamental practice, you're going to end up with problems, more problems than you have now. So better to practice well your graduated path. And like I said at the beginning, your graduated path is your bodhicitta. It's your bodhicitta to yourself, and it's your bodhicitta for all sentient beings. Okay? So I'm sorry if I'm badgering you, saying, "Hey, do this," but okay, hey, it's important that I share things and motivate you a little bit. Okay, you don't want to die with garbage. All right, that's the bottom line. So it's 5:03. I guess that's it, guys. If you have questions, personal ones, I know somebody sent me a message about something, and I don't remember it to answer it. I'm sorry. But you can write me personally if you want, johnpashanaman@gmail.com or John Buddhist Consulting. Doesn't matter, it's the same address. I will be posting this on YouTube. It's in my channel, John Pashanaman. You can watch it again. There is just the audio if you want, which will be on Zoom. I think Zoom gives you the opportunity of getting access to it. If not, anyway, it's going to be definitely on YouTube. Give it like a couple of hours for me to upload it. So I think that's just about it, guys. Okay, so it's on YouTube. It's super great to talk. I don't know. I'll do another class next Sunday, but I think that'll be the last one, because I'm sort of, this is sort of a condensation, like a gathering of a whole bunch of stuff. I wanted to do it simply because I'm still healthy and alive, and maybe I'll live for another 10 or 20 years. Who knows? It'd be nice if I did. But I just thought, okay, well, hey, I just celebrated 50 years, a half a century, so I'll share some stuff. And there's nothing profound. I'm not saying I'm enlightened. I'm not. I tried hard. I've worked hard on myself. And like I said, you practice hard, you realize how unenlightened you are, which is great. I can say with great humility, hey, all you do is you practice. That's what it's all about. Okay, so I think that's it. Thank you, Lily. Thank you, Patty. Nice to see you there, Patty. And thank you, Shapam. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. I'm not good at names, but sometimes. So that's it, guys. I think that's it. So I'm going to shut it down. Big hugs to you all. Love you guys lots. Okay, bye-bye, Robert. Bye-bye, Jorge, Terry.
you. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, if I end it, it's going to be ended for all. So take care. See you later, Tom. Bye.